wow, how lucky, or, must be nice. No, it wasn't nice.
All right, and welcome back to The Price for Paradise. My name's Woody, aka Creston Woods, and with me today on video, we brought back my man TJ for, I don't even know, round 7, 8.
Not sure. I'm back, bitches. I'm back.
He's back again for another round. And today we're going to be doing a special edition talking about our men's group coming after this. We have a big group workout, and so
Yes, sir.
and thanks to our man James for hooking us up with some video editing. Dude's the man.
Thank you for acknowledging James. Have you ever seen that video of Tyler, the Creator, where he's like, he always says hi to the camera people? He's like, I feel weird if I don't say hello.
Yeah.
I've just been staring
Like
at
he's
him.
gonna be in the room the whole time, so
Yeah.
like we gotta
Thanks
make
for that.
sure that he's acknowledged. But he's like our Jamie today.
Yeah.
You know?
Ooh, pull that up.
All right, TJ. So talk to me a little bit about what we're doing today. What's kind of like the structure and what's our idea behind this group?
Good question. So we've created a men's group. I thought of this idea a while ago to connect a lot of trainers. I feel like there's a lot of friction and ego in the industry, especially between males. And so I wanted to connect a bunch of like-minded individuals. Trainers work hard. They, push themselves. They push other people. So they're a good network to have. And what it's really become is not just trainers, but a group of hardworking men who we get in and push each other, have a good time, a support system for each other. It's also a blast to go, slang around some weights with your boys. But
Yeah, I mean, like, when we used to play sports growing up and, like, we had these, like, brotherhood type things, or, like, if you're in, like, the military, like, they call it, like, the band of brothers. And, like, that's, like, something that you lose, like, when you go into the workforce and you don't have, like, a community or, like, routines and rituals that, like, keep you around those guys. Like, you should, like, I still hit up my friends, play, like, pickup basketball and football. TJ's running routes every week, like.
Yeah. And football is one of those things where you're in the locker room going through the same pain and struggle with all these other guys. And I ask all my teammates, what do you miss the most? The times that I see them, and they don't talk about touchdowns or things like that. I do. No, I'm kidding. But it's about the brotherhood, that experience in the locker room, the moments in film, the funny things that happened. And so I miss that in my life big time. We have that here between us and a few others, but it feels good to create an official community where we meet every Saturday and get after it.
Yeah, dude, it was like a post-baseball depression, like, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to, like, go with it. Like, it was one of those, like, periods in my life where you're like, dude, like, I've lost this, like, part of my identity that I've been, like, holding on to for so long. And then you still, like, it's the concept of struggling or, like, suffering together that, like, helps us bond as men. And I think that that's something that you don't get much of if you don't, like, force the, hand of it.
100%. And it's a sacrifice. And when you're making that sacrifice with a bunch of other people, it's your network. It's who you surround yourself with. One, it becomes more normalized, and we're including more people in that, where you challenge yourself, you push your limits. It's okay to be vulnerable in front of other men. I'm not going to be the strongest at everything. Well, we'll see. But probably not, and that's totally okay. That's one of the things that is great about this, but we can all help each other grow from wherever we're at.
Yeah, we all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and he can jump over, like another kid's head probably, like, where I'm, like, more of like an endurance athlete. I can go for a long time. And so, like, we both have our different strengths, but, like, bringing us together, we can all feed off of each other and, like, figure out what we need to do to amplify our own.
Absolutely. And I feel that a lot of people limit themselves. They have self-limiting beliefs because their network isn't around them, pushing them. And this brings me back to my point I talked to you about earlier. Benson Sports Training, where I grew up in Rapid City, I was thrust into a group of athletes where everyone sees my vertical and is so impressed. I was the 3rd or 4th highest jumper in that group.
You weren't even, like, number one, but
so
you just
normal.
Marketed it.
Yeah, exactly. And those guys, and we all did have pretty decent numbers. We had a few guys over 40, but what happened is it became completely normal for me. That was my new bar and my expectation. And so that became, the standard that was set. And that's how we brought everyone up with us. And sometimes it was through competitiveness. It wasn't always pretty when you're a high school kid. It can get toxic at times, but that's another element that I like bringing to this. We talk a little trash out there, but it's all out of love. Like, we're competing.
It's a healthy competition, right? Like, and then there's ways to, like, be in healthy competition. So talk to us, like, a little bit about, like, what that looks like. It's not like using your emotions, like, being controlled, but using it, like, and harnessing it for better performance, because you do want to be better than those other guys. You'd be lying to yourself if you didn't. Like, on the field, you want to score, you want to win. Like, I don't know why anyone would not just, not want to do the objective of the game.
Yeah, and it's very healthy to have people push you. And you know what? You have to let your ego go. There's a part of your ego that it's healthy. I'd rather have someone be a little bit arrogant than doubt themselves constantly.
Yeah, like the
You know,
self-belief of a lot of athletes, like baseball was one of those sports where you lose like 7 out of 10 times.
and you're great.
And so like if you make it to the Hall of Fame, if you bat 300 your lifetime career. Like and that's not good. Like that you didn't win every time, but it's like this like people always talk about baseball players being cocky. And it's because like they have to have this like unreasonable self-belief in themselves to, play better. And it helps when you're on the field, when you're confident.
I ran track and played football for people that don't know. But one of those things is you almost have to have an unhealthy delusion to put yourself out there. I'm going to go jump for a ball while a guy that's 6 foot, 200 pounds and runs fast as hell is going to try to stick his head through my chest, right? You almost have to have an arrogant delusion that, no, I'm going to go get that ball. I'm going to be better than this guy. I can handle it, And it's honing that in a healthy balance and not letting it get toxically competitive. Where a lot of the guys I played, we would talk a lot of trash during the game, some of the most vicious stuff you could think of saying.
Yeah.
But after the game, it's all love. Like you're giving them a hug, following each other on Instagram. I still follow some of those dudes and still am interested in hoping they're doing well in their life.
And not like an unreasonable, like cocky expectation either. Like when you're saying things that you like physically couldn't do, but like is different than having complete self-belief.
Well, and I think that self-belief comes from conviction, which is days like today where we're going to put ourselves through a little bit of hell and we're going to push ourselves and push our ceiling and our boundary. So then you get conviction from doing it over and over again. Then that self-belief happens. It doesn't just happen all at once, but you have to start somewhere with a little bit of belief. You can't just, dive into confidence.
Yeah, and it's like confidence comes from preparation, right? Like, and so like, yeah, like all the hours that you put in the background and stuff that people don't see.
Exactly. That's my favorite quote. And people will talk to me about my jumps or you're a freak athlete. And I appreciate that it's a compliment, but my favorite quote is that's thousands of invisible hours that are only visible to me. You don't know how many hours I've spent doing the basics, late at night going in for my second workout, doing mobility, especially when I was playing. Those were hours that no one saw except for maybe my coach. But you see the end result and go, wow, how lucky, or, must be nice. No, it wasn't nice. It was a lot of work.
There's a lot of suffering in the back end that you don't see. And, I put that on the front end so that the back end will be easier.
And then that's my thing about encouraging others. One reason we bring everyone here is you don't know your limit, because I can tell you my limit. I used to think 32-inch vertical. Man, I remember I tested 28 and I was so proud. In a year and a half of being with those other guys, I was testing 39, 40 inches. Now that's the new standard for me. And I look back and it's hilarious. I used to think, God, please just let me get to 30. Now I'm like, oh, thank you, God. I want to get 40, 45. There's no ceiling on it. You never know what you can achieve until you pull that ceiling off.
Yeah. And like having outside help and outside look, like I think that you're not going to PR as often as you do when you have a coach like behind you, cueing you, telling you what you're doing wrong, having that like third person perspectives to give you a better understanding of what you're doing.
And that makes me think of the coach-athlete relationship and trust and where that's developed. And when you have an athlete come in initially, if they're on their own, it's harder for them to trust you right away. But what I've noticed is when I bring athletes in that their teammate already works with me, they've seen their teammate improve, and that's why they came, that trust is almost immediate. So it's very interesting. You almost have to, be skeptical of your coaches, but trust that they are going to help you optimize your time and implement a plan that'll help you get there faster, better, and love you, know your goals, and help you optimize them.
Yeah. So talk to me about, creating trust in an athlete. Like, what do you do to form that with like some of your guys? Start a men's group.
Start a men's group. Now, yeah, one way is actually challenging them and being. I know a lot of coaches that are yes men. Right? Good job, good. Well, it really wasn't that good.
No, you're just babysitting at that point.
Yeah, and so coach them one level above where they are, no matter where they are. Whether they're basic beginners and they're terrible, coach them to be one level higher. Or they're optimal professional athletes, coach them to be one level higher, more efficient. And by challenging them and then showing them that you can help them get there, that trust starts to grow and build. It's like a domino effect. And I won't say that all my athletes trust me all the time. That would just be asinine to say.
Yeah.
But I do think I've developed a real relationship where when I do give you a good job now, you're going to really know I mean it, because I've grilled you. I've picked you apart as much as I could, but they know it's out of love, hopefully.
Yeah. And a lot of things that TJ is not talking about is that he's a man that he follows what he preaches. He's a practitioner of what he preaches. And so, how do you expect anyone to follow your lead or be inspired by you if you're not doing the things that you're telling them to do?
Exactly.
It's like the parent saying, "Do as I say, not as I do,"
Yeah.
and it literally is the reason kids rebel is
Mhm.
because they see their parents as like, the figureheads of the
Mhm.
masculine and feminine in their lives. And if you say, "Do as I say, not as I do," well, I want to be kind of like you. You're my parents, right? Like if you respect them that way, and like
Mhm.
that is like the biggest lesson of all is like leading by example too.
Yeah. And Cade, our boy who's going to be at the men's group today, he has a great quote where it's simple. He says, "Be the product." It's that simple. Be the product that you sell. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be that your whole life, or that if you aren't in great shape, you can't be a good coach. But would you rather listen to me or a guy that doesn't have the physique you want, doesn't have the movement patterns you want, hasn't proven that they can do those things? It's very simple to me, you know?
Yeah, and it's Cade's a good dude.
It's good, dude.
Shout out to
Cade
Cade.
will
I mean,
yell at you. What one thing I love about him is Cade is he's in his 20s. I don't remember
he's a
23.
young guy, but he's so inspired.
He will
He's got energy.
yes, he will yell and encourage you, but sorry to catch a stray here, Jack. Jack's in our men's group and Jack misunderstood where we pushed the sled to. He was a little short. And Cade just screamed at him, but it was out of love. And I think Jack knew that. He's like, "Whoa." And, Cade's in that sports mindset. And I loved it. I was laughing my ass off. And I went, you know what? I'm going to go across that line. I'm going to make sure I go a couple
Yeah,
yards
right.
fast. I don't want this 23-year-old yelling at me, man.
And
I'll
it's
tell you
talking
what.
about accountability, right? Like, and that's the thing that sometimes we let slide is we try to people please too much, and we don't like hold each other accountable for the things that we could be doing better. Especially in the gym, like it's easy to
Could I
see
be
when
doing
it's like a
anything
movement
better?
Yeah, I mean, we all could, right? Like, I mean,
Absolutely.
me and you talk about the back end of business, and we're not like the pros on that, but
Yeah.
we're learning and we're growing as we go. And
Yeah,
so
and one thing you could do better is not try to ego stroke by making your stool taller than mine. I want everyone to know that I am taller than Woody, okay?
Yeah.
He's trying to get to me, right? I can tell.
I'm the host, man. Like you gotta have like
You're
some
the
sort of
host, you're
thing.
the
Yeah,
host.
yeah.
My bad, my fault.
Yes, TJ is taller than me.
Yeah, tell him.
But I think I can almost lift as much as him.
Yeah, almost.
We'll get there. Depends on the lift.
What's it called when you almost win? Losing. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
No. But then let's talk about running, cold plunge. Let's talk about, you're cooking me.
Yeah, but and that's good, and that's why I keep TJ around is because I think that he's better than me at a lot of things, and honestly I can learn
Vice
a lot
versa.
from him, right? Like, and that is, a person you want to be around all the time. It's competitive because we do try to beat each other in different weights and different stuff, but that's what makes us the best we can be, right? If you ran a sprint alone, you would never run as fast as you ran a sprint in competition
else.
against 8.
Absolutely. And I'll admit, because I was just talking trash, last week, Key squatted more than me. I failed for the first time in months. That hasn't happened in a while, and it's not that it's actually a competition every time.
Yeah.
But I take note when I do heavier than everyone else. I remember that. I remember every
course.
rep I run, I want to win. When I race the kids, I want to win. All week, I've been thinking about that set where I failed.
Yeah,
And
dude.
That's the healthy competitiveness. I'm not like hating on Key now. I'm not, I was happy he came, but there's a part of me that's like, I'm going to do better next week, and that's what we want to bring out of each other, circling back around,
And guys, the trainers fail. Like that's actually where we grow the most is like when we find that edge, right? A lot of times when we work with clients and people, we're showing demos and we're never, getting to that edge where you can get if you're in competition or if you have, someone else pushing you. And that's why I work out with other trainers because it makes me better to get that extra push from him. And yeah.
And a lot of times we talk specifically about the science, but our conversation today seems to be a lot more tailored around mindset and things like that. And an example of this for me this week was I had a boys group and then a girls group back to back. They were doing a similar hurdle drill. My boys group were hitting the hurdle a lot. So I'm like, go down. And one of them hits it and he goes, I'm going to raise this up. The logic there is crazy. I don't understand that. They almost are delusional, but that's the coach's job to optimize. Then I have my girls who haven't failed yet, and they're trying to lower the hurdle because they're like, oh, that's too high. What do you mean
You
it's
just
too
passed
high?
the other one. Yeah.
You haven't missed the entire day. You haven't failed. How are we going to know? So there's a balance. And I don't think all people fall into those gender roles, but I see it. I observe it more commonly than it's enough for me to point out.
Yeah, and I do see that the challenge mindset works a lot better with my boys, and
Talk trash to
like
'em.
the praise mindset works a lot better with the women. And now that's not every woman, not every man, but like with the boys that I have that are 12 years old playing competitive soccer in a club team, like they want to be pitted against each other, and they will work harder because of it. They get bored if they're not in a game. Like
you talked about the other day, I watched it. The boys were going through the hard part of their workout, which is more weightlifting. They're doing burpees, dumbbell snatches. they're not having as much fun. And they're all out of energy. They're tired. You get a ball involved, or you get a competition.
Whoop,
Woo,
zip. Like now I'm awake. Like
I miss that part about being younger, but I try to bring that out in my workouts and with the men's group. Make sure we're still buzzing around, having a good time when it's hard. Fake it. When I got done with the sled, I walked it off and like laughed. That was horrible. I was not feeling great, but you got to sell it.
Yeah, and it's not no so much faking it. It's just like not letting your emotions, I guess, like leave you, right? Like you can assess that you don't feel good and you can hold that in and not make a comment that draws attention to that, right? Like, because you don't want to take away from someone else's workout, or you don't want to, you want to show that you can handle a lot of stress and you can be resilient, right? That's a very masculine thing to look at.
Absolutely. It reminds me in football, one lesson I learned, there was an All-American corner that we played against. And I remember one thing about him. He would stick people. He hit super hard and he wasn't getting up, flexing on you or celebrating. He would walk his ass back to the huddle like it was no big deal. Like he's been there before and he's going to be there again. And I remember that stuck with me as an 18-year-old getting out there with those grown men. I went, oh, okay, this is different. And I tried to resemble that and grow into that. And I learned from a guy that I was competing with. And so one thing I would do is I would never bend down like this in the huddle or jog out to my spot at wide receiver. I'm out there and I'm looking at the corner. Even if I feel exhausted, I'm almost selling it to myself.
Yeah.
I'm good. And you could see that wears on people. It happened to me, so I'm going to reciprocate that.
And to be honest, the body follows the mind, and the mind follows the body. Like if you have your body language good, it will help you be less of that negative Nancy in your head. That self-talk gets better with they did a big study of power pose, and being postural is huge when it comes to like how you feel.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. And I always tell kids, body language goes both ways. So when you come in and you're having a rough day, you almost sell it. Smile a little more. Come in and have a good time with it. And you'll see people drastically. I joke with kids when they're having a rough day. I start talking trash to them, making funny things. We're not as serious. And you see them, quickly transfer their attitude. And then it's contagious, the rest of the people around you. And that's body language in itself. It works both ways. Body language screams.
Body language screams volumes. And it is what like they use in the field to know like when to attack and when to punt. And so like TJ had a fighter here not too long ago for a training camp, and shout out Zane, right? Like, and sometimes like the most probably like lethal people are the most calm and collected, and like I guess like he was very self-actualized, I'd say. Like, like at least like one with like his mind and his body together, right?
Well, and you have the conviction, you can whoop on most people. You don't have to flex that ego.
You don't have to show it off if you're good.
When you're that good, you don't have to tell everyone about it. It resonates. People know. It's
People know.
Disingenuous when you talk about it all the time.
Yeah, it's the person talking about themselves is trying to sell you on something, but the person that's being talked about is the person that is really of respect.
I have an example of it, actually. We were at the field running routes. First of all, Zane he's constantly taking videos of me and things, which I really appreciate, but I didn't realize how awkward I was. You probably are seeing that right now. Until I realized Zane's sending me just videos, and I'm like, why was I doing that? But while he was videotaping me at the field, a man approached him and was kind of hostile with Zane. And it was really funny to watch the calm confidence in Zane's eyes, and he wasn't like flexing on the dude or anything. He just looked right at him and was just like, I don't think I'm the guy to talk to about this. You can go talk to him. And the guy kept trying to bicker at Zane. He goes, I just show up here, man. And it made me laugh because I probably would have acted a little more hostile, like, get out of my face, But I watched that, and it was something that stuck out to me about him. Like, he had that confidence, and he didn't need to prove it to anyone. That guy has no idea he was just talking trash to an MMA fighter that could probably put him out in a second.
Oh, yeah, 2 seconds.
I've rolled with him. He's smaller than me. I
choke
almost
you
got
out so
him.
fast, huh?
Dude, choked me with my own arm. Like I was like, dude, I thought I could body the little dude, just squeeze it. No, everything I did worked against me. So it's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, those MMA fighters are built a little different, right?
Talk about competitive nature, going in and expecting to be really good at something that you don't train. That was me going to jiu-jitsu with Zane and just getting cooked by these guys that are fatter than me, skinnier than me, less athletic, look goofy. Doesn't matter. And they were all. The funny thing is, it's like, good job, man.
Yeah.
No, screw you, dude.
yeah.
He just choked me with my own arm. I'm not happy about that.
And that says something about like how you should act when you win too. Like it's not like rubbing it in your face, but it's more so like respect for the competition, right? Like thank you for being good at what you do because it made me better at what I do. And then you know, like that's like something that like people rub it in, and then they get the negative karma from that because they get cocky.
And not to mention, it's it's that saying I said earlier, act like you've been there before and you're going to be there again. And that's something my dad always instilled in
How you
me.
stay there.
So when I scored touchdowns, I really didn't celebrate much because in my head, I'm like, I'll be back. I'm going to be back here again, hopefully today, you know? And I think that stuck with me through life a little bit too. But I have to balance out, celebrate some of the wins. You know, you can't just always be in suffering.
Yeah.
You have to celebrate some of your wins.
You'll get
you've worked
burnt
hard
out
for.
if you don't go on vacation.
Mhm.
You know, if you don't celebrate your win, like there's a season and then there's an
Yeah.
off season, right? Like, you know.
So with that, a lot of these are mindset things, and I'm sure to have these mindsets, you have to have shifts. Are there any shifts that you could attribute to who you are now that you can think of, or specific things in your mindset that has shifted? That's a tough one, huh?
Like, say that again. Like, what?
So throughout your life, there's
Yeah.
probably been many times you've had mindset shifts that
Massive.
I'm sure, you know,
Yeah.
knowing you, I would hope so. If you just came out like this, that's incredible. But things that have helped you positively that you could attribute a specific mindset shift. Do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, like, well, living in Hawaii and like being thrown like out of the nest basically, and kind of like put on my own and having to like earn everything and like work 3 jobs and like pay.
Only 3?
Well, 3 at a
Soft.
time.
Soft.
Yeah, right. And then we just kind of like have to figure out life and like on your own, and that's kind of a big thing because I never really had like good direction from the first place. My dad died when I was 6, and that was like, you know, probably another big mindset shift that I didn't even know about because I was unconscious at that time. But now I'm like, and then I go to Hawaii and I have to like learn how to, I mean, grow my masculinity over time because I feel like you're not born like the man, right? Like there's like rites of passage and things that you have to go through and learn by experience that you can't read in a book and you can't, you know, watch on TV. Like it's something that you have to do. And I think that being thrown out of the nest and like trying to figure it out was that thing for me. Like, and then that's why I'm so entrepreneurial mindset, because I want to like try to do everything myself. And that's to a fault. Like, this is why this is the first video podcast we've done, is because I'm, you know, a 1-man band. I do the audio, I do, you know, podcasting, training, all this stuff. Right. But that was a big mindset shift for me, was being on my own and figuring it out. And then like having to create a structure that was similar to what I had when I was a baseball player in my life. Because like after that post-baseball depression, you forget about like how to do it, right? When you have a schedule and you're just following it, it's easy. You can grow and you can learn, but like if you don't know, you have to create it.
Not to mention your identity is very intertwined with that sport.
And your confidence.
You have to, because that's the only way you're successful at it. So then when it's gone, it's hard as a man to figure out who you are and what you want to do and who you want to be.
Yeah, like how does your confidence feel after you're not that athlete and you can't throw a ball? Like I don't need to throw a ball 80 miles an hour across a diamond. Like it doesn't translate to skills in life anymore.
Not really. No.
So you have
a lot of the mindset things do.
But everything else did, right? Like, you know, playing those sports were life lessons.
Yeah. One of the ones that shifted for me, and it sounds similar to yours, was victor, not victim. I'm going to be a victor of my circumstances. I'm not going to be a victim of them. They're not going to control who I am or who I become. So people that don't know, I broke my cheekbone, eye socket, and jaw, and that was tough on me. It changed the way I looked for a while. So confidence, speaking to women, confidence around people, where, you know, I used to be called pretty boy. So I promise you I wasn't being called that when I looked like I ate a beehive, right? I had to stop playing football. I had to have reconstructive surgery on my face, and my nerves are still coming back to this day. But there was a moment where that mindset shifted for me when football was over and that injury happened, that I went, no, I'm going to turn this into something. I'm going to help other people. I'm going to use this as an experience that is going to mold me to a tougher, more resilient person. And I hope that is what I'm doing. It feels like it.
Yeah. No, I mean,
but victor, not victim.
Victor, not victim. And yeah, I mean, we both broke our face, you know.
Shouts out.
I also fell on a hike and like, you know, was in the training room for many, many years. And like, that's why we do, you know, STEM and all this stuff now, is like, if you can take your downfalls, like you're saying, and like try to teach the other men that are on their way still, so that they don't have to fall in the same, you know, voids that we did.
And whether you're further along in business, life, age, success, you can still learn from anyone. And so it's not just the younger men that we're talking about. Like, all these guys we're bringing together, we all have different levels of success in different things. This is just our realm. So it's really exciting getting to bring people in and help them in that, you know. So you can learn from anyone if you're open-minded to it.
Yeah, and we got a cancer doctor coming. We got finance bros. We
A
got
DJ
a
slash,
DJ.
and then a Blake. We got a
Yeah,
jiu-jitsu guy. We got everything coming.
but we're all here for the same purpose, to grow and help each other.
Mm.
Prosper and like learn from each other along the way.
And we've talked about men a lot because that's the specific group we're targeting. Yes, I want to create a women's group at some point, but what I do think culturally, not everywhere, a lot of men aren't allowed to be vulnerable. They're not allowed to be, especially with each other, because of that ego aspect, because of that masculinity aspect. And a lot of people, I think, mix up that masculinity with being vulnerable emotionally. And I went through a breakup. What is it? I don't even know how long, 6, 7 months ago.
Yeah.
That was a big challenge for me, being vulnerable with my friends and my mentors, my family, people that can help me, my therapist. But that vulnerability has made me take strides that I never could have taken. Like when I used to shove stuff down, like, oh, I'm too tough. If someone would ask me how I'm doing, I'm fine, good. I'm just going to lie to you, right? Now, if you're not my friend, I'm probably not going to go into depth with it, to be frankly honest. But if you're someone that I can grow from or learn from, it feels good to. Jacob's one of them that talked to me a lot about my breakup. I still remember I was real sad sitting at the trainer desk, and he stopped his workout, knew something was up, came, sat down, asked what was going on. I'm like, it's good, dude. You can go work out. He's like, no. And he took about 45 minutes to sit there, and I still am touched by that. It was that moment stuck out to me, and that's kind of this community we'd like to create, not just through hard times, but celebrate each other's wins, push each other when things are challenging. That's what support is.
Yeah, and when you shove that down and you push that down and you don't like let out your vulnerabilities and you don't heal from those things that are, massive, points in your life that were very big inflections, and they definitely, changed your mindset a lot. But it's good to have that support system to help, talk you down and like get your confidence back and remind you of who you really are, because sometimes it can be hard with the mindset after, losing a relationship, a major relationship.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too deep on it. I wasn't planning on talking about this on here, but I had to check myself. I'm talking about being vulnerable. This is probably the most vulnerable I've had to be is this last 6 months to take strides. But dwelling in it is different than accepting that emotion that you feel, and this is okay. I can feel this right now. This is a season. But what I realized is I was mourning the loss of something that doesn't exist. I was mourning a future that I had created. And so that helped me with a lot of other things too. I'm not going to mourn something that didn't turn out the way I wanted it to because I created that in my head. Now you should manifest, have goals and aspirations, but there's a difference. And that's something that's beautiful that I think I've learned this year. And I hope that, I live as an example of that.
Yeah. And happiness is like a frame of mind, and it's something that like how you rationalize and visualize your reality. And a lot of those things that cause us emotion and like those placebo effects that affect our body are built up in our head a lot of times.
I would say. Yeah, a lot of it's in our head,
Yeah. And if you don't like talk about them, like I have clients that we do breath work and neuromuscular stimulation to help bring them out of their shell that they've been in since 16 years old. Like people have like, told me about some massive things that they've been holding in their body, and they physically were holding in their body. You could like touch their rib cage and feel how tight it was, because like, and then when you release it and they tell you about all their traumas, you're like, no way you were actually holding physically that trauma in your body.
It's somatic.
The body and the mind are one and the same.
It's one of the things I learned at therapy was that I didn't understand what somatic was. I wanted to complain and vent to him, but he'd say things like, well, how does that make you feel? And where do you feel that? I'm like, I want to talk about my situation, dude. And then I realized he was giving me tools to like identify, where do I feel it? Where am I holding this? Now let's attack that. And this is like the body language thing. Our body and mind are so intertwined. And that's why when these people tell you their traumas and things, you're not their therapist, Woods.
No.
But you helped them feel something and you helped them work through it physically. Now they can vent it out mentally and they can let that go. And it's a pretty cool thing we get to do.
Yeah.
You more than me. I don't have this newbie hooked up. I'm more like go sprint, run,
But like that's like the best self-regulator in itself is like getting out and putting in the hard work, because like if you feel like you're behind and you're not doing enough and you're it's at least you can feel a little bit of accomplishment and you take care of your body and your health and your mind.
100%.
It's like our meditation.
And we talked about this before, but this is one of my favorite. People that don't know, my way to express myself on my own is music. A lot of people don't know that I play instruments. My whole family did growing up. I just kind of loved the sports side. That was my way I expressed myself that everyone saw on the outside world. But getting back to doing those things, I've stuck with the training. You've seen me in here constantly. I don't miss this. I don't ever miss. But one thing with my brain was I was missing the musical expression. So I got myself a little beat machine, keyboard at home now because I can't have a drum set in my old person condo neighborhood in Scottsdale. Sorry if you're listening to this, old people, but I don't want to wake you up. So it's been really nice to find that way to express myself, and I think people need to do that physically and in their creative artistic ways, whatever that is. I can't paint for shit. I can't draw.
I'm not an artist, but I go on hikes and I like to, take pictures and do those things because it helps me like disassociate from all the hard work during the week, and it helps me have fun and enjoy nature and ground and all the other fun stuff about it. And then I can come back refreshed and ready to go.
For sure. And James better be a damn good artist because he's got to work with us on these videos. So we're about to find out, see what we can do with it.
Yeah, man. But any last things you want to bring in here? I know we got this men group starting in 5 minutes, so
better warm up.
Better warm up.
One thing I want to say is the listeners that do listen to your podcast religiously, I've really appreciated the people that have come up and thanked me or said something that was meaningful to them. That's kind of what made me more vulnerable today. Is that I didn't know if one person was listening, 1,000, doesn't matter. Now that I've known that it could help a single individual, just a little piece of advice that helped me or something that we talk about, that's really touching to me, and that's really cool. That's what this is all about. That's what the men's group's about. That's why we do something we love every day and helping people train. So thank you to anyone that has
We appreciate it.
Especially because I used to feel so uncomfortable in here trying to say the right thing. Obsessed with saying the terms correctly.
Oh yeah, like I remember TJ texting me like later, like, "Oh man, I missaid it 3 times in a row, the same concept." And
I explained the exact definition, what it means, and my understanding of it. But instead of saying post, I said pre 3 times, and I was bothered. I didn't want to listen to them. Then I thought about it. No one really cares, and if they do,
yeah, it actually just is a talking point so that they can come talk to you, and you can,
I need a few more haters. Give
exactly.
Give me some.
Right.
I guess anything that you want to touch on. I know what I have going on in the future. What do you got going on?
In the future, more newbie stuff. I paid it off, so it's mine now. We're gonna, start progressing the podcast up a little bit more. Get some of these clips out here for the people, and try to spread some more marketing so that we can get more people in and keep helping people along the way.
Love it.
And collabing with guys like you.
I don't know any of them. No, I'm just playing. I have a online training program that I'm bringing out. It kind of fits with our men's group concept. It's the Washed Up Athlete program. So I'm pushing this out where it's going to cover the 3 pillars. I don't want to go into my whole spiel, but fitness, nutrition, accountability. I'm going to implement some mobility, recovery. I'm working with a doctor that's going to do all the nutrition, do an audit of their lifestyle. So it's going to be all intensive, and I think this is the way I can make the biggest impact. So working on that product, be ready to see me talking about it a lot in the near future.
I love it, man. I love it. And guys, if you want to find more episodes of The Price for Paradise, TJ has been on like 7 or 8 times already. So please go check out us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and give us a review and let us know how everything goes. So
thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah. And we'll catch you guys next week on The Price for Paradise. My name's Woody, and aloha.
Aloha.